the culture and the history and the legacy of our city. You know, everybody grew up on Dundas, Yonge and Dundas, and to just have a small group of activists just like rip it away from us like that, it just left a bitter pill in all our mouths, and so that's why we decided to write the petition. Say it on the microphone.
Hang on a second.
I'm being insulted by Councillor
Allow
Moyes.
Councillor
I don't
Fletcher
appreciate
to
you
ask the
calling me a
question.
racist, because I'm definitely...
Wait, Councillor Fletcher has the floor.
And for them to kind of lowball and throw insults like calling us racist, I mean, everybody sees it. It's crass. We don't want it from our elected leaders, and we hope they do better.
What is wrong with asking Indigenous and Black voices what we can do to make the public spaces in the City of Toronto more welcoming and more reflective of their experience?
Unfortunately, the process lacked integrity. It was very opaque, and that's another reason people are pissed off.
Sarah Stock from Rebel News. I'm at Yonge Dundas Square, which is soon to be renamed Sankofa Square, much against the wishes of Toronto residents, which 72% of Toronto residents actually voted for this name not to be changed, but City Council has decided to go through with it.
Black people pay taxpayer dollars too. So God forbid we put a couple of dollars towards a truth and reconciliation to hold space for community members who have long been disregarded and discarded in violent and traumatic ways.
The reason the City Council is saying they want to change the name is because they're calling Henry Dundas, who Dundas Street is named after, a racist, even though Henry Dundas was actually a slavery abolitionist. The City Council is saying they're trying to rewrite history and saying Henry Dundas didn't abolish slavery quickly enough, so instead they're replacing that name with Sankofa Square. Sankofa is a word from Ghana, from the Akan tribe, which means to look back or to reflect. So we're supposed to be reflecting on this racist legacy that just doesn't exist. Now we're about to speak with Daniel Tate, who's a lifelong Toronto resident, who just this past week presented over 30,000 signatures in a petition to City Council for this name to not be changed to Sankofa Square. The reaction from City Council was outrageous, as many of them dismissed him. And one City Council man actually called him a racist multiple times.
Where's your petition for that?
Well, Rob Ford was a legend of Toronto, and he's a legend of Etobicoke. So it's actually very fitting and relevant to name.
Thank you.
Where was the Toronto candidates for Yonge and Dundas? Gordon Lightfoot Square, Jackie Shane Square. Herb Carnegie was a hockey player who broke the color barrier. He was from Toronto. Imagine that, Herb Carnegie Square. So using the Rob Ford card is kind of lowballing Councillor Moyes.
Any other questions to the deputant? Okay, Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, I'd just like you to...
Can you repeat that? Say it on the microphone.
Hang on a second.
I'm being insulted by Councillor
Allow
Moyes.
Councillor
I don't
Fletcher to
appreciate you
ask the
calling me a
question.
racist, because I'm definitely...
Wait. Councillor Fletcher has the floor.
Here's what Daniel has to say about this reaction from the City Council.
The majority of city councillors immediately dismissed the petition. They tried to discredit the petition. They tried to discredit me and all the 33,000 plus who signed it from every background you can imagine. I did a deputation at Executive Committee last week at City Hall. They proceeded to attempt to embarrass me and other deputants, but only made themselves look foolish. And they're on the defensive. And I really hope something happens, cooler heads prevail. Maybe they realize they've made a mistake here and we can press the reset button.
I know that Councillor Chris Moyes went on Global News Radio and called you a racist following you presenting this petition.
Well, you know what? The way he was behaving, to me, it seemed there was an element of that. And I was disgusted by it. And I felt the need to say something. I don't know the man. I don't want to know him. I don't care to know him.
It's a hell of a thing to call somebody if you're not sure that they are. You're in the moment. I get it. We all get heated and stuff comes out of our mouth, but you're standing by that this morning.
I'm saying the sentiments that I heard coming from him sitting in the room, it made me very uncomfortable. And I felt that there was a sense of racism coming from it. That's the way I felt. That's my feeling. And my feeling is valid.
Why not say it? Why not say it into the microphone?
I didn't need to. I said it to him.
And what do you have to say about that? Are you a racist?
You know, I don't even want to like dignify that with an answer. I think the video speaks for itself. I think the petition speaks for itself. I mean, the petition's incredible because it shows the diverse demographic of Toronto. You have Iranians, you have Chinese, you have Italians, you have, even Jamaicans, Ghanaians even have signed this. So this petition is really a sort of bipartisan, across the spectrum, and for them to kind of lowball and throw insults like calling us racist. I mean, everybody sees it. It's crass. We don't want it from our elected leaders, and we hope they do better.
There's a lot of more important things we could be doing, you feel me, than renaming the square.
A waste of money and time. All it does is cost us money, and it doesn't do anything.
I just don't like the way things are right now. I think we need change in this leadership.
Why change it all of a sudden? It just doesn't make any sense.
Like, what the is Sankofa?
There are a lot of other things in the city that money could be going towards.
Crazy. I have no words, yo.
And I even heard one city councilor say that it didn't matter how many signatures were on this petition. He was going to go ahead with that.
And I am not going to listen to a petition, and I don't care how many names are on it, that says go backwards.
So are these people really representing Toronto residents? If it doesn't matter what Toronto thinks, they're just going to do what they want.
Yeah, it's pretty inexplicable. When I saw that, I was shocked, as were so many people. That and the councillor in question was Gord Perks, who represents High Park in Parkdale. And it's just a shocking statement. We live in a democracy, and the will of the people should be respected, or at least evaluated. And for it to be just completely dismissed by Councillor Perks was really shocking, and I hope he regrets that.
Yeah, I think so too. And when we're talking about, renaming this square, this is a part of Canada's history, right? So I saw another one of the council members was trying to, basically discredit this petition by saying there's people from all over Canada signed this.
But it looks like it's a Canada-wide petition. I have signature here: Bowmanville, Milton, Sioux Narrows, Calgary, Thornhill, Saddle Lake, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Ajax, Mississauga, Vancouver, Oakville, Keswick,
Cobourg,
Weston, Richmond, Oakville, Mississauga, Harrison,
Hill,
Ontario, Prince Albert, Vaughan,
Woodstock,
Calgary,
Guelph,
Ganges, Delta,
St.
Welland,
Catharines.
Niagara Falls, Rossland, Mississauga, Erin Mills, Woodbridge,
It's a fantastic
Stittsville,
petition.
Mount Forest, Sudbury.
But do people from all over Canada not have a say? Also, how do we know that those people didn't live in Toronto at some point, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's so many arguments to counter that, which is a low ball argument. Just like you said, people in Moncton could have grown up in Toronto and still have a connection to the city and care. But also, the way I think of it is, Yonge and Dundas is not just downtown Toronto. It's like downtown Canada, right? Like, this is such a landmark intersection across the nation. That's why people really care, and that's why this issue is really resonating with so many people. But also, just to say, and we can look, you can look at this petition afterwards. I would say it's probably 80-20, 85-15 in favor of GTA versus the rest of the country, which I think is totally fine.
We're in the process of taking down the Science Centre right now. We're renaming Yonge Dundas Square, so it's no longer going to be Yonge Dundas Square. What's going to happen to the CN Tower? Do you think we're going to take that down too because of climate change or some, racist name?
I think if they ever attempted to do that, and I wouldn't put it past them, there would be riots in the street. The CN Tower is so unbelievably iconic that it now transcends naming rights. It's in the DNA of our city, as was this place. And so I'm really hoping that this chapter in municipal history teaches a lesson to all our local politicians that this kind of nonsense won't be tolerated.
So why is this issue so important to you?
Well, number one is the obvious argument, which is the complete waste of money and resources with this whole renaming nonsense. It's not just the tax dollars and Section 37 funds that are being blown on this. It's the administrative waste also, all these committees and subcommittees, and that costs money. That energy and resources would be better used to, deal with the homeless issue or drug abuse or our terrible roads that are in really bad shape. So that's number one. But number two, it's also just the culture and the history and the legacy of our city. Everybody grew up on Dundas, Yonge and Dundas, Raptors celebrations, Blue Jays celebrations, and to just have a small group of activists just rip it away from us like that, it just left a bitter pill in all our mouths, and so that's why we decided to write the petition.
And you even said yourself the new name that's proposed has nothing to do with Canada's history. And you suggested a few other Canadian names if we really wanted to rename it. What were some of those names?
Yeah, and look, I'm not knocking Sankofa per se. I'm sure in some places around the world, Sankofa would resonate. But it doesn't resonate here in Toronto, and that's why it's really rubbed people off the wrong way. And at my executive committee testimony, I just suggested several black Canadian legends of Toronto, of which there's no shortage. Like I said, Jackie Shane, who is like an amazing soul singer who performed here in the 1960s. Herb Carnegie, Ron Nelson, who was like the godfather of Canadian hip hop. I mean, if they called me and had me involved, I would have brought all these people to the table, but unfortunately the process lacked integrity. It was very opaque, and that's another reason people are pissed off.
Why not Drake Square?
Hey, that would be relevant. I mean, he's the sixth god. We're in the sixth, so hey, they would get my vote.
What do you think about Mayor Olivia Chow and how she's been handling this?
Yeah, I think she's been offside, actually. I think she's been willfully ignorant of what people are saying, the mood on the street, the mood of her constituents. And, in your mayor, you want someone who's going to listen and understand many different viewpoints. And she's demonstrating that she's not willing to do that. And that's not a good look for her. And, as I've said before, there's an election in 2 years. And now's a chance for her to, redeem herself. And if she loses this moment, we're not going to forget.
Toronto City Council has so many issues they should be focusing on instead of renaming iconic historical landmarks such as our high rates of homelessness, crime, and our dirty streets. If you agree, please head over to fixourcities.com and sign our petition to demand that Canadian politicians start focusing on the important issues.